Hey guys, it's Marie Antoinette, Soul Specialist here for your Mental Health Mondays. And this evening I'm talking about boundaries. So there's a few questions that I've posed in the description that you'll see below this live video. And it's asking questions like, do you see yourself as a very nice person? Do you often, well, it's not exactly in the comment section, but there are other questions that we can ask when it comes to boundaries, like, do we find it hard to say no? Do we often feel taken advantage of by others is another symptom of poor boundaries. And I'm talking about boundaries because it really affects us in our mental health state. So often we may be feeling depressed or anxious and we don't know why. Sometimes we're really exhausted, especially if we're constantly putting other people first. So if we're doing that, it often comes from social conditioning. So often, it happens when we're growing up, and you might have heard this many times from parents. So your parents might have said to you, help out your brother or your sister, and you're like, but I've got to do my homework. And they'll be like, what do you mean you've got to do your homework? Like, it's often a very conditioned thing that our parents pass on down to us. And, it is seen in society that if we say no, that we're not a very nice person or we're not a very good person. And the reality is this: we can never really truly help another person if we're not fully going okay. So some symptoms of our body giving us an indication that we need to start putting ourselves first is often when we have said yes to helping someone else and we either get sick or we start to get really agitated and really angry and we don't know why. And this is because unless we understand about putting ourselves first and being able to say no and to look after ourselves without feeling guilty, we often just mindlessly exhausting ourselves and developing resentment and developing feelings of guilt when we don't know why. So setting boundaries is really important. So the ways that boundaries can be harm for us growing up as well can be from situations where there's been abuse, where people, adults around us have not respected our boundaries as children. So what happens is that we end up with what they call like a perforated boundary system. So the energy around us actually has holes in it because we've had our boundaries violated. And other circumstances might be that when we've had our boundaries violated, we end up putting up walls. So some people, well, most people actually do have these things like walls around them or very poor boundaries. And healthy boundaries are actually not that easy to develop, especially when you're developing them and you haven't done them before. So for example, when I first started setting boundaries, especially with my family, I was seen as somebody who'd gone crazy. What's wrong with her now? Another thing I got was, oh, well, she's being a bitch. So guys might get something like, oh, he's being an asshole. Why won't he help me? Or why won't he do this for me? And sometimes you can end up with people trying to manipulate you into doing things. So having healthy boundaries is essential for really good mental health, so that we can be on a equilibrium level or a sense of peace or a sense of clarity within ourselves. So often, doing things for ourselves first can be seen as selfish. But it is it's quite an illusion, because if we are doing things for others out of resentment or we're feeling guilty and then we're going to blame them in our head later, that's actually pretty selfish. Or if we are giving not 100% of ourselves to somebody else, that's pretty selfish. So if you look at it in that aspect, it's actually the opposite of what is seen as selfish. And this is the thing when I say to a lot of people: if people aren't going to respect your boundaries or understand clearly why you've set this boundary with them or why you're saying no, they might not be somebody who understands healthy boundaries in the first place. But people who will respect that, and if you explain to them, look, I really can't do this, or I really have to do this, and they respect that, then you can know that they're then coming from a healthy space. So I'm talking about boundaries also because I'm running a half-day workshop on the 25th of November. At the bottom of the questions, at the bottom of this video, will be a link to that event. If you're interested in booking in, you can find the details there. If you found this video helpful, or there's some things about what I've said you want to comment on, please do. Please like, comment, and share this video so that others can benefit as well. And it's great that so many of you have joined me this evening, and happy Mental Health Monday. Bye.